IISD Reporting Services is in Paris for the UN climate change talks, covering selected side events. On Thursday, 3rd December 2015, a side event on engaging the private sector in adaptation was organized by Canada's International Development Research Centre, Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Partnership, and the Private Finance Advisory Network. Participants discussed risks, challenges, and opportunities for private sector investment in adaptation and shared experiences and recent initiatives on adaptation investment.
Businesses are very cognizant of climate change. They're not ignoring the problem, and many companies actually want to be a part of the solution. So helping encourage that movement in the private sector of companies wanting to make a positive change, positive difference, I think is very important.
We're very interested in better understanding what the barriers are to private investment and private sector engagement more generally in helping take adaptation ideas, adaptation innovations to scale. We need the resources, the know-how of the private sector to make a real difference in helping the poor and vulnerable around the world to adapt to the reality that climate change presents.
Panel members discussed risks, challenges, and opportunities for private sector investment in adaptation.
Business is not uniform. Business is not a monolithic entity. There are different types of businesses that have different types of purposes at different scales.
There's too much political risk out there, there's too much instability, and that scares away investment.
Rule of law issues. Rule of law issues. The ability to trust the regulatory framework you're going to operate in. The understanding that there will be absorption capacity in the places in which you invest. The understanding that corruption, if it is rampant, will be addressed and will be dealt with.
The private sector will have expectations about the future and then do business. And so what the role of the governments then could be is just to help create an environment where the private sector can be innovative, to respond to climate change.
The money is there. That's not the issue. The issue is about how do we mobilize it into the places where it's needed, and how do we raise the awareness and how do we build the capacities that are necessary to be able to move that money.
A critical point is that we need new and better adapted financial tools to bring money into development areas which today are not yet markets.
You know, investment is actually not about money. It's about information. It's about how much you know about something, because you're not going to put your money somewhere when you don't know enough.
I think also making science more accessible is an issue. A 4,000-page IPCC report is not going to be read by a C-suite executive.
Participants shared experiences and recent initiatives on adaptation investment.
One of the things that we've started to do is figure out ways that we can have our main constituency, that are usually universities, think tanks, research-oriented NGOs, work more closely with companies that actually want to make a difference.
I think we're working with IDRC to firstly identify and originate projects that can raise financing. So to learn by doing, to understand the projects, what they need, and how we can work with them to mobilize private sector financing. So that's a big part of it. We're working with a research institution, in this case with the Frankfurt School, to start analyzing the barriers and to start breaking down some of the barriers and or find solutions for some of the barriers. And the other big area that we're really trying to get a grasp on is how do we measure what we're doing? It's all very well doing it. In mitigation, it's easy to measure. We can measure GHG reduction. But what do we measure in adaptation to know that we're being successful?
We have quite a successful project, at least we think so, in India, working with farmers in the Punjab and developers of a very cheap soil moisture meter. And this soil moisture meter is linked through mobile technologies and helps farmers understand how much they need to irrigate or not. And so this leads to much more efficient use of water, and because water is pumped, much more efficient use of energy.
So working together with IDRC when it comes, to making business ideas in the field of private finance bankable, understanding what that actually is that makes up an adaptation-related project, and thinking about how it can be communicated, how people could be motivated to come up with their ideas.
Looking at the big picture, Mark Redwood reflected on private sector investment in climate change solutions.
It is now crucial for companies, for their own viability looking forward, to invest in climate change solutions. This is a very exciting moment, and hopefully from 2015 onwards we're going to see an acceleration of this. I feel like we may have arrived at that point, and I hope so as we look forward into the future.